Hi everyone. I'm back in the very beautiful Alice Keck Park in downtown Santa Barbara. There's a little waterfall in the background. Hopefully you can hear it, but not too much. So this week, Kim Stanley Robinson. Kim Stanley Robinson is one of the most respected science fiction writers in the world today. And we're very fortunate to have him come to our class, which we'll be doing, of course, remotely. He's also, many people would argue, one of the most important novelists writing today, and certainly the most important cli-fi novelist. So cli-fi, climate fiction, is sort of a subcategory of science fiction. And most cli-fi has been pretty depressing, often apocalyptic. And that should worry us, because if all that we can imagine, if all writers can imagine for a future in the middle of the climate crisis is a dark one, an apocalyptic one, I'm thinking like Mad Max, that sort of thing, well, that's a problem if we can't imagine our way of getting through this. In terms of climate anxiety, that's pretty much an anxiety-inducing situation, right? And Kim Stanley Robinson has written a number of novels that go way into the future, most notably the one titled 2140. And science fiction has done that, and often does that. So maybe most famously with the Star Trek franchise, which is imagined like 300 years in the future. We're actually watching for next week a documentary, Soylent Green, which when it was made in 1972 was set pretty far in the future at the time, in the year far off, 50 years off, the year 2022. And it's intriguing because, of course, we're now in the future, and when we take that film up, we'll have to think about that. But The Ministry for the Future, the novel that you're reading, was published in 2020. The events of that novel begin in the year 2024. So we're already halfway to the week when that film would begin. And what makes it so striking is, well, first, Kim Stanley Robinson very carefully researches everything. He actually has a PhD in English. He could be a professor, but he chose to be a writer for the great benefit of the world, in fact. But he researches everything. So the portrayal, for example, of that great heat wave in India on which the novel opens, that's based on fact. That's based on both how the climate is changing and temperatures are bringing about heat wave events. And as we saw, heat wave events are already happening. In the companion piece that I said for this week, the documentary Cook, Survival by Zip Code, shows you just what happens. But Kim Stanley Robinson is imagining the future, progressing from the year 2024, and he is talking about all the sorts of things that could happen and that could be done to deal with this, which is what the Ministry for the Future does. And in that sense, it's I wouldn't call it a pessimistic novel, and I know you might find that striking because it starts off with 20 million people dying, but it is, in a way, that's sort of the worst of it. And that's sort of debatable in the novel, but it's very bad. But then it gets better. It begins to get better. The Ministry for the Future is what's set up to do that. And in that sense, I would call it an optimistic novel, or one that sees its way through to the future. The other thing, which I'll note to Stan when he comes, is that this book, if you could recommend one novel to someone who's even a little interested in the climate crisis and what's happening and what may happen, I'd recommend this one because it's so well researched. He covers so much that I cover in the classes that I teach, things about like carbon pricing and a carbon tax and a carbon coin and all, and he explains them in great detail. And that might be a little off-putting for you, so if you want to read just a novel about the main characters, about Frank and Mary, you might think, well, this kind of gets lecture-y in the middle, and it seems like a lecture at times talking about these things. True enough, I take that, but that's also one of the beauties of it because, well, those lectures need to be delivered. That's why I'm delivering them. That's why Stan delivers them, because they can inform the reader in an interesting way. And in that sense, they're kind of an alternative to a lecture series in a way, because it is a long book. But anyhow, I want to hear what you think about it. And as usual, I'm not going to be giving you like detailed prompts about the first section that you read, the first roughly 150 pages, because there's a lot in there, and I don't want to tell you focus on this, focus just on that opening heat wave. If you want to do that, that's fine, but there's a lot else that's interesting, and whatever catches your attention, whatever you find interesting, I'd like to hear about that, and I think other people would, and I'm already this week too quite delighted with the YouTube responses that people have been doing. I mean, not all of them are as emotional as others, and that's okay, but some of them have been very heartfelt and moving and very insightful. So I'm looking forward to reading what you think about Kim Stanley Robinson here. And of course, you'll have another pass at the second chunk, third chunk, and final chunk of the novel that we read. So I'll be curious what you think about things as they progress in the novel. So, okay, and thanks.